Hey there, welcome back to the Satisfactory Megabase project. Today we're continuing work on the Parthenon supplies factory. In the last episode, we finished bringing in the remaining materials for electronics production, deuterium, quartz, and everything needed to get those lines running. Today the goal is to push forward fast, finishing out refining and bringing as many new items online as possible. All that and more in today's episode. We'll be moving a little quicker than usual this time. There's a lot of catching up to do, and many of these steps are simple repetitions of the same recipes, just at larger scales. When working with the refining-based items, the process is straightforward. We take a skid of 4 refiners, line them up in a row, and keep placing them until we're close to the total quantity that we want. Once the array is in place, we tie it all together with 1 manifold and 1 feed pipe. Now yes, if you're wondering, this often means that we exceed the demand that a single belt or pipe can handle, but that's where the closed loop method comes in. We covered this concept in the short titled Closed Loop Feed Systems, but to summarize, it's basically a manifold where the end of the line feeds back into the beginning. This gives you multiple supply points distributed evenly throughout the loop, allowing the system to self-regulate its flow and demand. It's a simple and elegant solution and great for keeping production stable. For the pipes, it's the same principle, just without the actual loop. Since pipes allow two-way flow, that handles balance automatically. And remember that placing a buffer tank at the end of a pipe system helps to dampen that sloshing effect when flow rates fluctuate. For the other production items that we can use compact skids for, we reuse existing ones wherever possible and only build new ones when necessary. For example, when we expanded into high-speed connectors, we built a new manufacturing skid containing 4 manufacturers each. From that, we curated both a 4-input variant and a 3-input variant, adaptable for any product that requires a manufacturer, regardless of recipe or quantity. Each of these skids then is programmed in the field with the proper recipe and output values. Whenever capacity exceeds demand, we simply underclock each manufacturer to match the exact production rate needed. That keeps every line balanced and every skid efficient. From there, we just work our way down the list. First up, refining the resources we brought in during the last episode. For quartz, we set up quartz crystal refining and silica refining, using the cheap silica alternate recipe that combines quartz and limestone. These go in easy since most of the infrastructure is already in place. Quartz inputs, water lines, and power feeds are all ready to go. Next, we move on to deuterium ingots, installing their refining skids the same way. Once we confirm production rates, we tie these directly into our quick wire and wire production skids, both using alternate recipes that mix copper ingots and deuterium ingots for better ratios and mineral efficiency. That approach keeps everything compact, modular, and perfectly scaled to what the Parthenon factory needs. Once these mid-tier items are complete, we run them straight into the end-use production skids as quickly as possible. Wire, quick wire, and the quartz items we get brought down to the second floor where we're doing the majority of our electronics production. There we tie them directly into the producers for AI limiters, high-speed connectors, circuit boards, and finally crystal oscillators. This has been a long time coming, as this is actually the first quartz-based manufacturing we've set up in the entire playthrough, so we immediately route them down into the supply bins to get them online. And it's routing I would like to take a moment to speak about specifically, because this is something I'm very intentional about. I run all item lines along the ceiling and drop them into the skids with lifts. It keeps the floors clean, organized, and easy to read, and it works extremely well. I also try to run items in dedicated north-south lanes. When I hit conflicts, I simply build an offset. I place a 2-meter foundation, drop the line down that exact amount to clear the obstacle, and then delete the foundation and its supports for a perfectly clean floating offset. Using this method, I never need to build hidden pipe mazes or logistics dungeons. The only real reason not to do this would be if you want to leave the ceiling open for lighting. But I use the Permaday mod to keep my lighting consistent for YouTube, and honestly lighting tends to be buggy, so I only use them for specific aesthetic builds. Working on the electronics, though, has really highlighted an entire category that we've been neglecting, the ferrous items. So we take some time to bring up all the steel and iron ingots that we set up at the beginning of the Parthenon project. We bring those up to the top of the structure and then back down to level 4 where we will begin our ferrous factory. To support all of the alternate steel recipes that we're using here, we will also need to build a massive concrete plant, and that will become another backbone of this entire section. So we place another refinery row on the top floor to handle the wet concrete recipe. We put this up here because it's right next to our water bottling plant, and this setup uses almost all of that existing water. Of course, though, we find out the hard way that we're still short. We're going to need just one more 600 a minute water line. So at this point, we just bite the bullet and run the pipe straight up the column, the way we probably should have done all the water. We run a power line up that column and then place pumps where appropriate to handle the head lift. Once that concrete factory is in and tested, we set about tackling steel pipes and steel beams, two core products that this entire section depends on. Once those are in and stable, we move into the basic iron products, iron rods, iron plates, and for completion we automate screws also. Screws are to be avoided wherever possible, but there is one build that requires them, the Awesome Shop, and it is a pain every time you have to go handcraft them just to build one. With all of that in place, we can finally produce the more advanced materials like encased steel beams, modular frames, and heavy modular frames. All of this ends up consuming the entire output of the new concrete plant, but once these lines are finished, we run everything down to the storage bins and get them uploading immediately. A lot of these items are technically redundant thanks to the first supply factory that we built, but at this stage every bit of production helps us push closer to full completion of the Parthenon. Once those lines are running, we can shift our attention to the items that blend ferrous and non-ferrous materials, the motor chain. Rotors, stators, and the motors themselves all fall into this category. We've still got a bit of space up on the 5th floor near wire production, so we build those skids up there, hook everything in, run a quick production test, and then route the outputs down into storage just like the rest of the factory. With the ferrous items complete, we're finally approaching the end of the full Parthenon build. That makes this a perfect time to start knocking off some of the fringe items we've been putting off. The first one on the list is sand production. This is going to require a new train station up on the North Mesa, the same one we previously built a ramp up to. We chose this location because it sits close to another critical resource that we need to bring in, nitrogen gas. So we place 2 stations on a platform at the top of the mesa, and then get to building a train corkscrew on the east side. That gives us more of a direct approach for trains and also sets up the infrastructure we need to route the nitrogen lines and tap into one additional SAM node nearby. Once that is complete, we head back down to the train floor and set up 2 new receiving stations. And now, finally, we're bringing in 2 of the last remaining items required for the entire factory. From there, we take the SAM up to the 5th floor and build a small specialty skid to handle reanimated SAM and SAM fluctuators. We only need a tiny trickle of each, so a single producer for each recipe is more than enough for the construction demands we'll be meeting later on. From here, the only 2 categories left are ammo and equipment, and then the high-end items like turbo motors and fused frames. We'll handle those in the next episode, but we're not quite done yet for today. There's still enough time to get ahead by setting up some of the prerequisites. So before we wrap things up, we're going to knock out sulfuric acid, black powder, and fabric. Sulfuric acid is straightforward. We take the sulfur line we brought to the edge of the factory earlier, route it up to the top floor, and drop it into a block of refineries that start producing acid. All of that gets stored in nearby buffers so we have a healthy reserve ready to feed future production. For powder, we bring up the excess coal from the steel factory and turn it into compacted coal. That gets mixed with more sulfur to produce black powder. Then we bring up the oil byproducts, the heavy oil and the resin, to feed the smokeless powder and polymer fabric skids. Once everything is connected, fed, and tested, we can call those lines finished and ready for the next stage. Honestly, this came together faster than I expected, even with the condensed pacing of this episode. The Parthenon is now alive with activity, a constant flow of trains in and out, materials moving steadily into the bins, and the whole facility finally starting to feel like the mega project it's meant to be. In the next episode, we'll be finishing the Parthenon once and for all when we build out the high-end items and the ammo and equipment lines. After that, we'll add a few extras that weren't part of the original plan, things like organics recycling and biofuel production. And then we'll finally say goodbye to the Parthenon as we shift our focus towards Space Elevator Phase 4 and eventually nuclear power. So thanks for coming in today, and don't forget to subscribe, it genuinely makes a difference. Like the video, drop a comment, and check me out live on Twitch where I build all of this in real time and your input can help shape the factory as it grows. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.